Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen. Our guest today is a Hall of Fame basketball coach, one of the best basketball coaches to ever coach in Louisiana. Still coaching. We'll talk to Coach about that. But Coach Kenny Almond. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
All right, thank you, Lee. I appreciate you having me.
You got a long resume, Coach, and I know you're very humble, but let me mention, 2017, you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, 18 years at Woodlawn in Baton Rouge, 10 years at East Ascension, 8 years at Lehigh. Now it's called Liberty. I'm still trying to get used to not calling it Lehigh. 2 years at Holden, spent some time at Zachary, also Denham Springs. Currently, we'll ask you later in the show. Actually, right now, Coach, are you still thinking about getting back to coaching, or what are you doing now?
Well, the situation at Denham came up. I actually had retired in 2004 from Woodlawn in 33 years, and then it just so happened the timing and whatever, East Ascension came open, and I was able to do that what they call retire thing, and it was a good opportunity for me. And I went to EA for 10 years and enjoyed that. That was a good run of players, and we had some success. And then I got out after Zachary. I was at Zachary 1 year, and I got out. I didn't coach for 2 years, and then thing in Holden popped open. They were looking for a coach, and I contacted them. I said I'd like to do it for maybe 2 years and try to get them back on their feet. They had a little down period. Mm-hmm. That worked out pretty good. So then I got out, and Coach Cavallera called me, and I knew Cav from way back, and he's a redemptress guy, and he played right in there with Derek Taylor and Huckabee and all that bunch, and won a state championship. And he had coached at Louisiana Tech, and he was at Sterlington in right outside of Monroe there. Mm-hmm. And he was looking to get back down here because his son-in-law is Tanner McClure from all the McClures at Central, and they want to get down there and go to the family, and the Denham job came open. And so we kind of I connected him with Drew Nettles, and they hired him, and Drew was the athletic director at Denham at the time. And Cav so anyway, he called me last summer, and he had a situation where he lost his JV coach. He went to Live Oak, Tyrus McGee, and he is the head coach at Live Oak now. Okay. So he kind of got caught without anybody, and then he knew I was still interested in doing it, and I really enjoyed it. I don't teach; I just go there and coach. So I'm not on the faculty or anything like that. Okay. But it worked out good. We didn't win as many games as we'd like this year, but a lot of circumstances, no excuses. But we hope to be a little bit better next year. But it was fun, and the kids are working hard, and I think we got a good situation.
Yeah, Coach, I want to mention this, brag on you a little bit. 932 wins prior to this year. 41 years prior to this year. I had everything prior to this year because I was trying to figure out what you were doing this year, and I'm glad you told me. But then, man, your run at Woodlawn, Coach, from 1985 to 2003 was an incredible run. You had some great players. Darnell Lazar went to LSU. Contrell Gransbury, LSU. And then I got to mention this. You know this. But prior to you coaching there, Dennis Brown was a former Woodlawn graduate from LSU with Dale Brown. Dennis Brown.
That's right. He went to Woodlawn. When I was at Lee, Dennis's high school career was a little messed up. He had a lot to overcome because he had 4 coaches in 4 years.
Wow.
And that's pretty difficult.
That's tough.
But he could score. He was really athletic. He was a great long jumper and high jumper, and he could shoot. And but they didn't win. He was about all they had, and then I left Lee, and he had graduated. He was already at LSU, and we had a good run. But let me tell you, a lot of people don't realize when I went there, they hadn't had a winning season in like 24 years.
Wow,
25, something like that, and we didn't have one that first year either. But we went. We were 12-18. And we went 6-6 in district, and I was so proud of them. But because the district was the end of Rick Huckabee at Redemptress, which they were really good. Mm-hmm. Plaquemine was good, Catholic High was good, Denham was good. We had to play all those schools and great coaches at every one of them. So for us to be 6-6, we really made our mark, and we made the playoffs the next year. And then the next 2 years were not very good either. But then in 1989-90, we won 20, and we never won less than that again. And we won 30 about 7 times at 30 or more at Woodlawn, and we finally broke through and won 3 state championships. But it was a good run, great players, and good parents. And believe me, it takes both, and we had a lot of support and from the parents and the student body was really got behind us good. And we had a good run. We did.
Coach, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We're going to have more. Coach Kenny Almond, basketball coach, one of the best ever to coach in Louisiana in high school basketball. Won state titles in 1999, 2002, and 2003. 4 runner-up finishes, and also had one at Lehigh. What an incredible career. We'll be back with more with Coach Kenny Almond. Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you. Welcome back. You listen to the Sports Scouting Report. Our guest today is Coach Kenny Almond. What a great career. Coach, speaking of Woodlawn, I remember, by the way, 1989, you were talking about that 89 season. That was my senior year in high school, Coach.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was at Central High School at the time, and Coach Bennett was there. Remember Coach Bennett?
That's right. Yes,
yeah.
I do.
And I played football with his son, Dale Bennett. And Dale was a pretty good basketball player. Dale's in Lake Charles now. And we were talking about some of you guys that came out, but I got to share this with you. I remember going to Woodlawn to watch a football game, and I remember this 6'8" receiver lined out, flexed out.
Yeah.
And I said, the last time I saw a 6'8" wide receiver was Harold Carmichael, and that was on TV when I was a boy.
I remember, yeah, he played with the Eagles. That's right. Yeah.
And I was like, who's this kid's name? And they said, he's a sophomore. His name is Kentrell Gransberry. And I'm like, but he's a basketball guy, and he's like 6'8", coach at the time, probably 210.
Yeah, he was big. He was.
And I was like, this guy is phenomenal. I mean, he could run. He had hands and everything. And they didn't even throw the ball much. And then he ended up being a great basketball player for you. And what got up to about, 260, 270? Is he still playing overseas, Coach?
No, I think he's kind of shut it down now. And I haven't talked with Kentrell in probably over a year. I need to get back in touch with him. But he did play overseas, and he never got it into the NBA. He came to LSU from a junior college. Mm-hmm. And when he got to LSU, story I heard that he was getting after Big Baby pretty good in the summer. And they had kind of intervened with the deal, what they were going to do with Kentrell. He was a little bit too good, and he was going to upset the apple cart a little bit. Yeah. And they asked Kentrell to redshirt. And he said, no, I ain't doing that. And he went to South Florida, and he was a 4th leading rebounder in the nation his junior and senior year.
That's incredible.
And he really had a good and he went and he played some – he didn't play in the NBA, and Big Baby did. He was a great player, but he did play overseas a pretty good bit, played in Mexico a little bit, and had been going back. I don't know how they do those seasons overseas, but he would go and play like 3 months and then be back a month and go. I don't know how they do it, but he made some money and played, and he graduated college too. That last team we had, we throw a little thing in there for those guys.
Yeah.
We had 7 seniors. 6 of them got athletic scholarships. The 7th one, Brandon Cheatham, he was a little short guy on the team.
I remember
Everybody loved him. Brandon got an engineering scholarship at the University of Houston.
Wow.
All 7 of those seniors graduated college. All 7 of them.
It made you proud. That's very rare.
That's how you say that. They got, obviously, them graduating college had nothing to do with me. But I'll tell you what, I can say and be pretty proud. That's pretty good accomplishment. That's pretty good.
And Coach, I want to mention this. Dennis Brown, I found out he's in Southern California now, living there. And then also I saw Dornell Lazar's coaching development league for the Pelicans, I think.
Yeah, that's right. He did the development and coaching during the season. And I think he has kind of taken on the team, so to speak. But he does the development of kind of pre-practice stuff before a guy comes in there. He said some of those guys, like, on I'm sure they tapering down a little bit now. Their legs have got to be gone by this time of the year. But he said they would practice like 7 or 8 hours in a day.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, that's including meetings and this, that, and those film sessions and all that. But he handled a lot of like pre-practice stuff, individual work.
Coach,
and then they do these team stuff and all that, you know.
I want to mention this because when you were at Woodlawn, they had some great players come out in all programs at that time, Coach. When you were there, Chad Durbin was a baseball player.
Yeah, Chad played basketball. He played basketball.
I didn't know that.
Very good.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes, indeed. Chad was good. Chad had a weak moment one year. He was senior year, and he came in and told me he was going to go out and play football. I said, what? And he said, he's going to play football. I said, have you lost your mind? And then his dad called me, Chad's dad. He said, Coach, you got to talk to Chad. He's talking about playing football. I said, he's your son. You tell him, you know. And then he went out there a couple of days and came back out. But I always told him when he was going, you know, from basketball to baseball. And he used to throw a lot during the basketball season. He would throw. And then when the team got out there working a little more, I said, look, I got one thing about you going out here at baseball. We know what you're going to do. I said, but don't try to knock the backstop down because he could throw it. And but he was a heck of a basketball player. And he beat McKinley by himself one night. We just gave him the ball, and they couldn't keep up. He was quick. You see, when he played in the minor leagues a little bit, he didn't play minor league ball very long. He went right on up there quick.
That's right.
But when he played in the minors, he said he pinch run a lot of days when he wasn't playing. He could run.
Coach,
I'm going to say he was athletic.
Coach, I remember watching him. You know how those baseball games are like basketball. Y'all might have them during the day or late afternoon. But I remember they were playing Terra in baseball, and he was throwing 91, 92 in high school. And he had a one-hitter, and I think he struck out 12, and they took him out after 3.5 innings. Chad's 6'2", went to the major leagues. For people that don't know who he is, outside of Baton Rouge, was a professional major league MLB starting pitcher from Woodlawn High School. 6'2", he had some size. That was good basketball size for you, huh, Coach? 6'2".
Yeah, he could. Yeah, I'm swear we were playing McKinley at Woodlawn, and we got into something during the ball game. And he got the ball one time and blew past his kid and laid it up, and I went, that guy can't guard him. He can't do it. So, and there was a timeout or something, and we had a little bit of lead, and we were kind of holding the ball. But I said, look, we running some clock here. But, Chad, if you get it on the wing, and he loved to go left. He was a right-hander, but he loved to go left. I said, if you get it on that left wing, and there ain't nobody down there on that block, you go get it. And he must have scored 12 points. I mean, they poor kids, he couldn't guard him. And he was really a good athlete. You know, he was and easy to coach. He was tough as nails. He told me one time that playing basketball helped him in the major leagues. That's he did say that.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Coach, one other great athlete that was at the school. People forget this. You don't. You remember you were there. But one of the best volleyball players to ever come out of Louisiana, 3-time All-American at Long Beach State, Danielle Scott. Did you try to recruit her for basketball?
Hey, let me tell you something.
6'2", man, one of the best ever.
Oh, yeah. And she was unbelievable. And they never won. We didn't win in volleyball. We didn't win in basketball. In track, she'd just go pick out 4 events and win them. In the next track meet, she'd pick out 4 different events and win them. She was unbelievable. And she goes to the LSU basketball camp. Tommy Goodson calls me. Now, Tommy's daughter, what was it? I can't think of her first name. She was Tammy. That was it. Okay. Tammy was a cheerleader at Woodlawn. So I knew her. I knew her dad I'd worked Coach Brown's camps. But then Donnie, he calls me up and says, Coach, who is Danielle Scott? And I said, well, she plays basketball here, you know, and volleyball and everything. He said, no, who is she? He said, we don't even have her on the radar. She came to the camp and said after one day they wanted to sign her. And he said, well, what? He said, well, why don't we? I said, Coach, we don't win. He said, well, I mean, we had a bad program. I'm just going, I mean, when you got her and you can't win, I mean, she was unbelievable. And then everybody recruited her and told her she could play both sports, with the exception of Louisiana Tech, because they were really, really good in basketball. and they wanted her to play volleyball, and they wanted her to play basketball, but they wasn't going to let her do both. And basically, the basketball wasn't going to let her do both. And she went to Long Beach State, and she played both for, I want to say 2 years, maybe just one. And then she was MVP in the nation her senior year, and they won the national championship. And she was on 5 Olympic teams. That's not bad.
Not bad. And then she's still in Brazil playing pro volleyball.
Oh, yeah. She does camps and deals around here. And she used to sub a little bit over at Episcopal sometimes. And my daughter works there at Episcopal, and she's had camps there. And she's still just nice and sweet. But I want to tell you something. When you put that basketball or volleyball, she is the meanest competitive son of a gun.
That's good.
She's a great. She is really, and she got in that Sports Hall of Fame in Nacogdoches, and obviously deserving. She's the greatest volleyball player that's ever been on this planet.
Yeah, unbelievable. From Woodlawn High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, while you're there, like Chad Durbin was there and all your guys. And, Coach, we're going to take a break, and I also want to mention coming back, I want you to talk about that 2003 team at Woodlawn. You went 39-0, and it was the 6th best team in the country that year as a state champion. 39-0, incredible. We'll be right back with more of Coach Kenny Almond. Looking for a used car? Harvey Autos has 3 dealerships, which means 3 times the used vehicles. They've got everything from fuel-efficient compacts to luxury models, even hybrids, and certified pre-owned with a warranty. Check out John Harvey Toyota, Harvey Subaru, or Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City. Welcome back. You listen to the Sports Scouting Report. Our guest today is Hall of Fame basketball coach Kenny Almond. Kenny, what do you think about that 2003 state championship team? You had 3 teams that won the state titles, but y'all were 39-0. I mean, that's hard to do, Coach.
Yeah, I've always heard people say that, you wish you would maybe lose a game here and you break that streak. Yeah. You wouldn't take the pressure off. I don't know. There ain't no convenience time to lose one. We want to win all of them. Right. And that year we had a chance to do it. I knew we had a chance. And because the year before we had won state, and we won the last 17 games we played. So we won 56 in a row when you counted them. Mm. And but when we had Rashawn Jacobs. He was a great football
player. Yeah, great football.
Oh, yeah, he played football and basketball at Northeast. And then they switched coaches, basketball and football at the same time at Northeast. And he came to Southern, and he ended up playing football at Southern. And he was coaching at the school downtown, mentorship. He coached there the last 2 years and got into it. But unbelievable athlete, really, really good player. And we had him. We had Liddell Eccles Jr. He was our point guard.
Wow.
JaQuincy Jones. They both played junior college and Liddell played at Campbell University his 3rd and 4th year. And then JaQuincy ended up playing at LSU Shreveport and graduated. Like I said, all those kids graduated. And then we had Darnell at LSU. Kentrell finished at South Florida. And then Shawan Mack was
he was good, Coach. He was really good, man.
He was our 6th man. He came from Christian Life. They changed clothes and shut the school down or something like that. And the coach came to Woodlawn, and then Shawan came with him. And he played football. He signed with Les Miles actually at Oklahoma State.
That's right.
And then he ended up transferring when Miles left, came to LSU. He went to one of the schools in Arkansas, like Arkansas Little Rock or Arkansas State, one of those two, I think. And he played ball there and graduated. So, that was an outstanding team. And we could guard you, we could play slow, and we could play fast. And they did a lot of adjusting. And, in that team, we had beaten Ouachita in the 3rd round to go to the top 28 the year before at Ouachita. We beat them by about 25 points. And we weren't that much better than them, but we had a great game. We went back that year. We had to go back to Ouachita. And they had the kid that played at Texas Tech for Bobby Knight. Can't think of his name. Really good player.
I know you're talking about. We go up there,
and look, we won the game at the buzzer. Rashawn, he hit a shot, and we won by 2 points. It was tied, but we didn't want to go no overtime with them. and we beat Ouachita 2 years in a row, and that's hard to do.
Coach, and, I've been to their gym, that maroon gym. It's a nice place. They pack it.
They do. It was really packed, and we had the ball, and we were holding for the last shot. And I mean, we had it on film. The referee, Donnell had the ball. There's a guy steps up and starts going. They start the 5-second count. The referee goes, 1, you can see it on the film. His hand, they go out and they count with their hand. 1, 2, 5. 5-second call. And they got the ball back. Now, there's like 25 seconds left in the game. And, as politely as I could, I told the referee he counted a little fast.
Where'd that come from? Where'd that come from, Ralph?
They called timeout, and I said,
"No tech? You didn't get a tech on that? You were
no. Well, you can't. I mean, it's tie game.
Right.
I said, listen, Jay Jackson, that was his name. That was a great player. Played at Texas Tech. Played in the NBA
really
a
good.
while.
Really good.
And they got him, and I'm like, well, look, we can't. He can't go down to the last shot because if that guy's gonna make that call, so he's gonna call a foul. We have got to take the ball back. We got to steal it, and we can't foul. So we got after him. I mean, it was unbelievable defensive effort, and they tipped the ball out of bounds, and it was in kind of a bad spot. It was right into where the lane and it was in the corner of the court on the baseline.
Okay.
And so I said, look, we got a shot. This ain't an easy place to get in. So we got after him again. And we almost stole it, and we knocked it out, and it was out on the other sideline. And Jay Jackson, they had to throw it in again. This time they didn't have a timeout. And he sprinted right at the guy with the ball, and he threw it to him, and he's trying to turn the corner, and his momentum, he stepped on out of bounds line. And we got the ball back. And then we went down, and Rashawn took a shot right at the buzzer and right around the free throw line and made it, and we got out of Dodge. That was all we did.
Coach, let me ask you, since I'm thinking about it, because I forget so easily. Let me ask you this: when a game's that tight, any game, especially win a title or get to a title game, and you got 30 seconds left, 20 seconds, you got fouls left. What's going on in your mind, being a coach with 42 years experience? I mean, that's a delicate time. You could lose by 5. You can lose by 10 points in 40 seconds if you don't play it right.
Oh yeah. It's there's no formula for it. It's different every game. It's the situation. I mean, there would be teams that if that same thing happened and we were on defense, we'd play it out to the end. But the where we were and that call and this, that, and that, I just felt like we need to win now. So we got after him, and luckily we didn't foul. And it just the fact that he caught it in his momentum and he stepped out of bounds and we got the ball back. And then you got to start thinking about, and you work on that in practice, getting a shot and letting the clock run out when it's tied. And there's a lot of pressure, but it's not as much because the game is tied. But if you're down one, well, that's an issue. But I do remember we had a play we've been running in that game, and then we were going to get the ball to the Liddell Eccles in the corner, and Kentrell was going to be on the block. So we had a shooter and Kentrell on the block. And Quincy had switched to point guard on that play. He and Liddell would pop out to the corner because he could shoot it. They would come guard him, and we'd have our big guy. And, of course, great idea. None of it worked. None of it. And Quincy ended up with the ball. We couldn't get it to Kentrell. Liddell didn't have a shot, so he threw it to Quincy. And that's kind of, then we used to go into our offense. The only problem is we ain't got no time left now. So Rashawn was standing, really close to JaQuincy. And JaQuincy knew one thing, he wasn't shooting. He basically rammed it into Rashawn's stomach. And he made a move and a turnaround jump shot, and it was unbelievable. I mean, it was probably the worst shot he ever took in his life, and he made it. It was unbelievable.
Coach, one thing that I always watched growing up and then playing is, when you shoot the ball and it's tied, when you leave too much time left for the other team.
That's right.
That you got maybe 20 seconds left and you shoot with 9.5 seconds left.
Yeah, that's a killer there. You gotta work on that to prevent your team from doing it. And it's easier said than done. Because the kid has the ball, wants to get a shot up, and he's open. But like you said, if you leave a little bit too much time, You know.
Even in college basketball, it seems like 4.5 seconds is too much. You know?
Oh, wait till what about the semifinal game when Gonzaga scored? I mean, that guy got that ball. It wasn't but about 3 seconds.
right.
You know, and,
right.
and he got around midcourt. I don't think he crossed midcourt, but he was right around midcourt and banked it in, you know, and made it.
And got a good, even though it was long, he actually stared it in, shooting it, even though it was long. Right. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with more of Coach Kenny Almond. Coach, I want you to share that story when we come back that you shared with me twice about playing, I think it was Broadmoor with Charles Miranda, and how the score was, y'all had a record low score, the all-time record low score maybe in the history of Louisiana basketball. But we'll be right back. We'll have more with Coach Kenny Almond. We'll be right back. So, hey, guys, just wanted to take a minute to tell you about Harvey Autos. If you need a new or used car, there's 3 great dealerships right here worth checking out. John Harvey Toyota, Harvey Subaru, and Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City. Low prices, honest people. Tell them Lee sent you. Welcome back. You listen to the Sports Scouting Report. Our guest today is Hall of Fame basketball coach Kenny Almond. Kenny, a good friend of yours, a good friend of mine, City Cafe's owner, one of the best restaurants in Baton Rouge. By the way, if you're hearing this in Shreveport or outside Baton Rouge, City Cafe's Charles Miranda, we call him Squeaky. You told me a story. You went up against Squeaky. Was it at Broadmoor when he was at Broadmoor, Coach?
He was at Broadmoor. The game was played at Lee. I was at Lee High, and he went to Broadmoor the same year I went to Lee. And so we were competitive and all, and Squeaky's, you know, favorite coach was Bobby Knight, and as was mine, and I think Kenny Worsham, because Knight was just climbing the ranks in. Mm-hmm. And so we believed in defense. I don't know if we ever even shot the ball in practice, but we could guard a little bit. And Squeaky and them could guard. And we were playing at Lee High, and Coach Carter, Bob Carter, was the AD at Broadmoor, and he was he was a defensive coach at a scrummer.
I love Bob Carter. Crew cut.
And, unbelievable. Yeah, a great guy. And he loved Squeaky. Well, he came to the game because he lived over in Kenilworth, which ain't far from Lee. Mm-hmm. And he came to the game, and he's sitting up there. And the first quarter, literally, I think it was 4-2. And then at the half, it was like 10-8.
Right. Say that again to the listeners. 10-8 at half basketball game.
Right. And then the third quarter picked up. It was like 18-16. And I mean, it was the worst. We always say we coached the worst game ever played. It was, and I think the score got into the low 30s. I think. But I told Squeaky, I said, who won? And he said, I said, I think it was probably, if the basketball guys were watching, we tied so both teams would lose. You know?
Well, Bobby Knight would have been proud of y'all. Bobby Knight would have.
Oh, yeah. There was no offense played. And people say, well, y'all must have held the ball. No. Because nobody was playing zone because we didn't believe in that. And nobody was holding the ball. We were that bad, but I guess you might say maybe we were that good because we were stopping the other team. Yeah. And Coach Carter wanted his money back, and we wouldn't get, so you didn't have to pay to get in anyway. And he said, you ought to pay me to be here. So we always laughed about it. It was a bad basketball game, really bad.
Kenny, I remember going to lunch with the legendary Billy Cannon and Bob Carter a lot. Bob and him were really close.
Yeah, they were. That's right.
And but I want to mention, if you're hearing this all over the state, go to City Cafe on O'Neill Lane. I go there. I know you do, Coach, and many others. A lot of former coaches go there. But Charles Miranda, Squeaky's done a great job with that restaurant on at City Cafe. And I love to go in there and talk about basketball or just sports because you know Squeaky's going to come up to the table and talk about sports, right, Coach?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt. He's and nobody's going to go in there and sit down and have a meal and leave. I don't care if it's at lunch or the afternoon session, whatever, and get out of there without him not knowing who you are. He talks to everybody. It's not just to go eat a meal. It's an experience. Yeah. It really is.
Coach, speaking of defense, I grew up, my dad was a youth league coach. He did 1 year football at Central Private, but he was a long time youth league coach in the 70s for football. And he was an intense guy, so he was a defensive guy. And everything I did as a kid was 190%. And even in basketball, I wasn't a tall guy, but I was always on you. I was not going to let you shoot Try not to foul you or slap you, but I was always on. I made you earn it. And I like that kind of basketball. And when I watch college basketball today, it's like watching open threes is the new word, right?
That's what it's become. I'll tell you, the game's changed a lot over the years. It really has. When they put the 3-point line in, that changed it. And then they lowered remember the shot clock at one time was 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back far enough, they didn't even have one. And then I guess Tennessee and North Carolina started running the delay games and stuff. And then so they put in the shot clock. It was 45. Then it went to 35, and then it went, but the last 2 minutes of the game, they didn't run it. Remember those days? And you could still hold the ball. And now we got the shot clock all the way through. So it's changed the game a lot. And I rather I like Bobby Knight's way. The pass and cut and screen off the ball. In Indiana, they never screen on a ball screen. Well, there ain't a team up there now that doesn't ball screen. They all go screen on the ball, and the guy drives it, and it's a guard-oriented. I mean, if you had Shaquille O'Neal on your team, he might be lost.
Mm-hmm.
Where's he going to go get? He can't shoot three, and if he stands on the block, somebody's in the way, so the guard drives and they can help. He would get his offensive rebounds and all, but, I mean, they have just basically taken the post player out of the game.
Yeah.
With the way we're playing. And I heard Knight say it one time at a clinic, so you don't get me wrong, the way they're playing, he said there's as many ways to play the game as there are coaches that coach it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, to understand something, they're all right if you're successful. So, the way they're playing today is different, and different teams play different ways. LSU was a totally different team this year than they were last year. But they were good last year and they were good this year. So the game's changed a lot. And don't think for a second that officiating ain't changed.
Oh, you know what I don't understand now, Coach, and I'm not taking a stripe out or nothing, but the officiating on charges. I'm wondering if they follow the finish of the charge even anymore, because sometimes it looks like they're calling it before even the charge is done, because you see these guys moving in the lane and the offensive players getting called for the charge, and the guy's moving on defense.
And it's if it was worse, it's worse. You gotta tell them, well, that must be the guys that just left high school 5 years ago, because it's not getting any better. I mean, it's not. And but you got to handle that. Usually teams do, but they got some strange happenings on some of these calls. The one with the girl this year that was Baylor. Did you see that at the end at the buzzer to win?
Yeah, Coach, talk into the phone. Something we're kind of losing you there, hearing you there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
At Baylor, with Tim Mulkey, they had a shot at the buzzer, and she got, hammered by two girls on the shot, and the game ended. That was it. They were playing in Connecticut, and now would she have made it? I mean, I'd like to find out.
Yeah,
but,
and I talked to an NBA executive 2 weeks ago. Kenny, you'd love this, and I don't want to say who he is, but well-respected former general manager in the NBA, said that in the 80s and 90s, they called defensive calls all game long. Now they open it up where, there's not as many calls. They're letting people do stuff, and it's just the rule now. Like the NBA is allowing the game to not be physical, or not getting the calls on physical play. They did in the 80s and 90s, so they changed it. And but you look at Baylor being they're a shooting team. They were physical. Don't get me wrong, but Gonzaga and Michigan, Coach, I like those Michigan teams. I think Juwan Howard, those guys are tough, man.
I thought they would win it when they beat LSU. I told Coach Wade, and I thought, hey, you might have just lost to the national champion. And they didn't win it, But go back to high school. The three-man crew came in 92, 93. They phased it in, and they started using it in the playoffs. And if you ask a referee now, before 1992, 93, you never, as a coach on the sideline, said, look, we got to go out there and commit 3 fouls because they're not in the 1-and-1. so you really get after them for 3 possessions in a row. Or you never, you said, well, look, they're going to be fouling us. You reverse it, then they're going to be fouling us. You got to take care of the ball real good. Because a lot of times the ref will let one of those physical fouls go. But you never even thought of that as a strategy because both teams were always in 1-1.
Yeah.
So when they added that third referee, now nobody's in the 1-1.
Yeah.
You do that almost every other game. Either you're going to have to foul to get the other team into the 1-1, and then you can commit a foul. Maybe you'll miss a 1-1 free throw, and you see what I'm saying? Or you go the other way. But you ask a referee, where'd the fouls go?
Yeah.
Did they stop fouling? No, they didn't stop fouling. Don't stop calling fouls.
Yeah.
No, that's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, and they can't explain. They don't like you to ask that question. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm serious now. I don't know. You could go back and get some old scorebooks. I'm gonna bet there wasn't 5 games in the state of Louisiana played a year where both teams weren't in the 1-1 prior to 1990.
Wow.
Now you play entire basketball games and neither team shoots a free throw.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
That blows your mind. And look, the refs are doing a good job. But I was talking about, like the college level, pro level,
Right.
high school guys are doing a good job. I just would like the college charge being a little bit toward the defensive guy in the future a little bit more. But, Coach, we're going to take a break. We're going to bring you right back, and I want to ask you what you think of the Blue Bloods not doing well this year in college basketball and all these new programs popping up like Baylor. When I say new, the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Virginia, all these different programs. Gonzaga's finally getting some of the better players over the Kentuckys and the Kansases. And I ask you, your best college recruiter that you've ever met in basketball for college basketball, your favorite college basketball player of all time, and then when we come back, maybe some final thoughts on you already mentioned Bobby Knight being your favorite basketball coach of all time in college basketball. I'll ask you if there's another coach. We'll be right back with more Coach Kenny Almond.
Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report. Our guest today is Coach Kenny Almond, Hall of Fame basketball coach out of Baton Rouge, spent many years at Woodlawn, the old Lee, which is now Liberty. I got to say Liberty. Man, it's just, Coach, I keep saying Lee, it's Liberty. And then East Ascension for a long time, and now at Denham Springs, and coached at Holden. What a great career, 42 years and counting. Coach, who was your favorite college recruiter of all time in basketball? I mean, you had a lot of recruits over the years. Was there one guy or 2 guys that impressed you that recruited when you were, coming to your campus in high school?
And this is the truth now. You're going to say, no way. Southeastern is about 35, 40 minutes from Woodlawn High School. Mm-hmm. Southern University is about 30 minutes because you got to go through town. And LSU, and the only coach from those 3 schools, Southeastern never came to a game or a practice.
Wow.
Southern University, the 18 years I was there, and the players we had came to 1 game and didn't sign anybody. We had a whole bunch of guys go through there that there never was any recruit. I didn't get to know too many because they didn't come. I don't know what the deal. And the recruiting thing has changed. They're going through AAU guys now. And that was kind of a transition period at that time. But it was amazing to me, the players we had, and nobody even came and watched us play.
Man.
And they'd see us in the playoffs. But as far as coaches that I got that was real personable and I got to know was Will Wade. When I was at East Ascension, we had a big kid named Jacardo Hawkins, and he was pretty good. He ended up playing 2 years at junior college, and he played at 2 4-year schools. and bless his heart, Jacardo, it's been about a year and a half now. He had just gotten a job in Houston at a plant. His first day on the job, he's walking through the plant and showing around. They had actually taken a little break for lunch. He had a heart attack and died. And but Will Wade came and watched us practice a lot, and they were looking at Jacardo. That's when he was at it wasn't Virginia Commonwealth. It was what was the other school he was at? Can't remember what
I know what you're talking about.
It was before he went to Virginia Commonwealth, and he came and saw him several times, and then I saw Coach Wade at a clinic, and Jacardo was gone, and I guess I might have been in Zachary, and he was out at LSU. He was doing a clinic, and he walked over and he kind of bumped me in the back, said, and I never put the two together. I'd forgotten, but we had known each other and we communicated a lot for about a year, and then I'm at this clinic, and he walked over and he said, Coach, he said, you ever get Jacardo to work harder in practice? And I turned and looked at him, and I said, till this moment, I never realized it was you. It was the coach at LSU.
Wow.
And Will Wade because he had left and gone to Virginia Commonwealth. I lost track of him, and then he was the coach at LSU. And so, I text him a lot. I didn't see him at all this year because of this virus mess. But I've gone to some practices. But he came in and he wasn't pushy, just asked how the kids doing and grades, set up a visit. He came back, and they were serious about recruiting him, and then they took someone else, and Jacardo ended up going to junior college, and I had a pretty good little career, and he played overseas 1 year, and then I think he had about decided he was just going to get a job, and he was at that plant, and whatever happened, but he died very young.
God bless his family. That's
but
too,
Will Wade
too
was way too young. You're right. But Will Wade was probably about the only one. And Johnny came a couple of times. He saw us play over in Lake Charles at a tournament, but I don't think he was watching any of our players. Johnny Jones, I'm talking about. Right. Johnny and I are real good friends. He's a great guy, but nobody really. And John Brady came, obviously, when they signed Darnell. He came and saw us practice one time. It was in the spring, and they offered him early. And Darnell decided to go. He committed, and he signed that fall.
Coach,
he signed
what's amazing?
Before.
You win 3 state titles at Woodlawn. You had several teams win 30 games, and you've only had sound like 5-6 college coaches there the whole time in 18 years that you even. That's crazy.
That's the truth.
That's crazy.
That is. I'm telling you, that's the truth. And I tell you, a player the two players that was there the year before, got to mention, my goodness, James Collins played at Birmingham Southern, and James was getting contacted. I didn't even know he was being recruited. No one ever talked to me about him. And Dwayne Rebo was the guy's name at Birmingham Southern. James went there and played 4 years, had a very successful career. He's coaching at Cristo Rey here in Baton Rouge now. And he was the MVP guard for us when we won it in 2002. And another kid on that team was Karandik Ogenreich. And, you talk about having to call that in all year, and he would score 18. And they'd say, could you spell that? And I was like, wow.
Coach, that's like saying Naboska Bukamich at LSU. Remember that?
That's right. And Karandik went to Norfolk State. And I never knew he was being recruited. And what the deal was, somebody saw him at AAU because they don't care about a high school coach no more. I mean, I'm being honest with you. And the reason he went to Norfolk State, his dad lived up there.
Okay.
And he played there, and he was the academic. He graduated, and James graduated also in Birmingham Southern. But he was the academic player of the year in that conference when he was a senior. He's an FBI agent now. How about that?
That's crazy.
And he was 6, and he grew to be 6'9". He was about 6'6" when he played for us. He was a heck of a player, and nobody showed any interest in him in Louisiana. Nobody.
Coach,
and I couldn't understand that.
Look at the players that have come out of Baton Rouge in the last 15 years. Tyrus Thomas, McKinley, Baby Davis, U-High, the Temple brothers, U-High, Brandon Bass, Capital. You look at Fess Irvin back in the day. You look at John Williams back in the day. Howard Hussey Carter. You mentioned Liddell Eccles. Derek Taylor. redemptors. You know, all those are
Carter was
Tom Curry.
Right.
I mean, we can go on and on. And then Bob Pettit, probably the most famous Baton Rouge basketball player to play in the NBA. But there's a lot of talent to come out of Baton Rouge. And people say, oh, there's not a lot. No, there's been a lot of talent come out of Baton Rouge.
Oh, no question. You didn't mention, too, I was talking about today, Kedrick Brown played at Zachary.
Yeah.
People don't even know it. Kedrick Brown went to Fort Walton Beach Junior College down there. They call it Northwest Florida now. He went from that junior college. He signed with LSU,
right?
But he didn't come because he entered the draft.
Celtics.
He was a first-round pick for the Boston Celtics. And Jamar McKnight was on that same team. Jamar played at Clemson,
right?
And he was a ninth grade coach at Zachary when I was there. And he came in one day and he said, Coach, I want you to watch this. I ain't bragging, but watch the second half. I watched the whole second half. Clemson at North Carolina. Dean Smith coaching. Player of the game was Jamar McKnight.
Coach, he's now the current. He's a current head coach at Southern Lab now. Jamar, what a great guy.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, and I think he might be switching jobs. As a matter of fact, I heard today that, and I don't know if it's not official or anything, but someone out there at Central told me that he may be the Central coach next year.
Oh, okay, yeah, great. I like Jamar.
Hey, great guy. Really good guy.
But, yeah, I mean, look at just the talent. Look at T.J. Pugh, Ethan Martin, Lehigh.
Wow, yeah.
We can go on and
Ethan,
on.
He went. Yeah, Ethan went to McKinney. That's where he went.
Yeah,
he went to McKinney.
Keith Smart. Indiana.
No, that's right.
We just
made that last shot in 1987. I saw it. I was at the game. That was unbelievable. That was in the era of Hoosiers, the movie, and all of that, and Indiana basketball, and of course Neil Reed went there, and Neil and his dad, Terry, we were really good friends.
Okay.
And that I saw that 30 for 30 thing again the other night, and I don't think I can watch it again. That just tears me up because it's just a tragedy all around.
Yeah, it is.
And but Terry was a very good friend of mine, and Neil was a great player down at East Jefferson, and I saw him grow up. He was really special. And that whole story is so sad, what went on there. Anyway, but there's been some great players. You're right. I mean, I know they've had their share in New Orleans, but people don't realize how good basketball is and was here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
And just look around the state. Elvin Hayes, Rayville, Benoit Benjamin went to Creighton.
Right.
We look at the mailman, Carl Malone, came out of Louisiana, and Robert Parrish came out of Woodlawn in Shreveport. Played at Centenary, and Calvin Nat. And then you look at, Dumars went to Natchitoches Central. Joe Dumars. Yeah. Coach, with all the parity now in college basketball, used to be what? UNC, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, maybe a little Villanova. The old UCLA's back, Michigan State. Now you got Alabama on the rise, Arkansas's on the rise, Baylor. Gonzaga's now getting big-time players. Virginia is getting big-time players. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. You think it's going to be like this for a while, or you think it was just 1 year, the Blue Bloods being down in basketball like Duke, UNC, even Louisville's down, and Georgetown and Syracuse and Notre Dame and UConn and Georgia Tech and Memphis, they're down.
Well, you didn't hear the name. This year they talked about the upsets in the tournament. And then you go back and you think, were there any upsets? I mean, were those upsets or did it just happen?
Yeah.
I think it just happened. And I think they did a very poor job of seeding everybody. Now, how do you seed people? Well, that's very difficult now. Because if you take 4 21-year-olds or 5 21-year-olds that stayed 4 years in college, and they were pretty doggone good players to begin with, and then you go play Kentucky, who's got 4 18-year-olds and a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old. I'm not caring about what year they're in, but that's how old they are.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Kentucky's going to get the 5 stars, but there's other schools in there, and then you say a Baylor or somewhere else, and those guys stay that extra year. Well, then that next year, they're there. And so seeding a bracket is going to be very difficult. And picking who's going to have. I saw they came out with some odds right the day after the game, said Gonzaga's got the best chance of winning it next year. Well, I would say right now, if you say, okay, Gonzaga, I'll take the field. Somebody's going to beat them.
Yeah.
Now they might not. Gonzaga might win it undefeated. Who knows?
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? I mean, like LSU. LSU's going to be a totally different team next year. Now it could be a better team.
Yeah.
But this year Kentucky didn't get the right one.
That was my next question for you, Coach. Living in the portal, high school recruiting in the portal. What do you think that basketball's going half recruiting now in the portal? And now Will Wade's having to sign 3 key guys in the portal with a signing class to keep up with Arkansas. And Alabama got 4 in the portal, and Arkansas got 4 in the portal the other day.
Right. That's what's crazy. I don't know. And it's got, I picked up one of those Tiger Rag magazines, and there's a big, they talked a lot about issues at LSU, blah, blah, blah. They got around in the different sports. And then there's an article in there with Saban. So they just had the SEC meeting. And he mentioned basketball and saying that football, he was talking about the traveling camps and clinics that like Harbaugh did, and they went into different states and had a Michigan football camp.
Yeah.
And then they coming in and saying you can't recruit through a third party. And with Saban saying, well, what do you mean you can't recruit through a third party? You go into a state, what they're doing, he said they didn't believe it. They're having to do it too. How are you going to police that? You can't. And what's happened is the AAU guys have stepped in, and the reason Nick Saban is concerned, because he said we've had this problem in AAU basketball for years, and he's right.
Yeah, Coach, we're having trouble hearing you a little bit. Might want to talk in the phone a little bit.
Okay.
Got you.
All right. So what he said, the AAU philosophy and the 7-on-7s. So see, now it's becoming football.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. I won't say the high school or the coach. They get in the playoffs this year. He's got a senior point guard, and he walks in, Coach, I'm not going to be able to go to the game next Friday. First round of the playoffs. Had a good shot at going a little ways in the playoffs. Why? Going to a 7-on-7 camp. Senior point guard. And he was going to, and guess where they have it? Disney World. Well, of course, he's going down there. Who's creating that? People outside of education and sports. And there's money being exchanged hands. And I mean, how does a kid get there? Does he have enough money to get there? How does he get there? And then he might fly there, whatever. So he's there and he plays and he does well. And he might sign. So that's good for the kid. But is that good for recruiting?
No, Coach. I'm not a fan of the 7-on-7 national circuit for football or any sport, because this, Coach. If you're good enough to play D1 or 1AA, you're not going to become a better D1 player because you're on a 7-on-7 circuit. I mean, no. You're. I always say, people, your ability is your ability. Your upside, your upside. To be seen is one thing if you're a D3 guy, D2 guy, but if you're already D1, why do you go?
For the trip. That's why.
For the trip.
For the trip, and you go because it's stylish, and then you got a 60-year-old being interviewed and this, and he's given, why are they taking money? Because they've been given money. I mean, is a kid supposed to turn down a brand new pair of Nikes 3 weekends in a row, where he can sell them on the road? I mean, those things are $150 a piece, and the cleats and whatever, and a picture. And does it help him? Is he promoting himself? Well, yeah. I mean, it's almost like saying, you hear him say it sometimes. The player can't get paid, but the some other guy in college can get paid. It's like saying, well, Elvis Presley, you can't go on the road. You're too young.
Well, I tell you what, I
see both sides of it.
I wish the NCAA would just have a better footprint for all sports and reach. It's been a while since they've changed the big book they have on rules, and I think they just need to police it more. Don't you think, Coach? Just redo it. Like, they got to get control of this.
It's out of control right now. And then they say, well, the school gave him something. Well, did the school, if I'm a recruiter and I got my briefcase, I give it to, Johnny's great uncle who passed it on to the grandpa who's got it and just bought a brand new car, and the amount of money's out there. How can we trace that?
Yeah.
And that's ugly, and then that's not part of the deal. But now, then you go on the other thing and you say, well, the kids should be paid. Well, there's some credence to that too. I understand that because they put in. I mean, when you go to college, it ain't sport no more. It's business.
Yeah.
For the player.
Right.
And now if the kid puts in that work and whatever, and he's lucky in, right position, doesn't get injured, he might make a career and make a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
So you say it paid off for him. What about that guy who didn't?
Yeah.
And he did all those things too. And but he did get an education. I like what Charles Barkley said on TV the other day during the tournament. He said they're getting an education.
Yeah.
And don't think that ain't worth nothing. That's worth a lot of money.
That's right. That's the future of the next 50 years of your life or 60 years.
Exactly.
Coach, one more question for you before we go. And LSU fans would love this, and I know you're friends with him, but what do you think of Will Wade as an X's and O's guy compared to some of the other coaches in the game today? I mean, I like his style. I think he's full of energy. He's brought some good stuff to LSU. I like him as a coach. And what do you think about Will as an X's and O's guy?
I think he does a great job. I do. And, people are critical. Let's go back and look. I mean, he's been good so far, and all that peripheral stuff, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. We're just going to stay with this, yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, they said the same thing, but, I mean, don't think they just invented that, and football wasn't involved in way, way back, too, and, I mean, Billy Cannon, I mean, he was our hero at a strummer, I mean, I was a little kid, and he was running around making touchdowns and all, but, he had pretty good summer jobs. That's what they called them back in those days.
Right.
And it's increased a little bit.
Right.
But no, I think Coach Wade, he did what he had to do this year with the talent, and they changed. And I think that's a good compliment to what he can do. He changed the offense. He certainly changed the defense. And everybody's shooting those threes, and everybody seems like a corner three and dribble penetration, kick it out. And but I really think that AAU changed high school, and I think for the worse, and it's changed college the way it's being played. And the NBA is just another. I don't like watching the NBA, but college is just different, And I told my son that sometimes I get frustrated with LSU. I said, look, this year what you need to do is just pull for them. Don't watch that cup.
Right.
Just keep pulling for them.
Let them make the tournament.
They were exciting, and what you can combine. I mean, they're in the tournament, they're playing, and there were years where we never thought about that,
Yeah.
But I tell you, when Coach Brown was there, he was in it every year. And we got spoiled,
Yeah.
So it's the game has changed, and you got to keep changing with it. Now, that's why I keep asking myself, what did we do at Denham? What did we do wrong? But, we just got to get better at it. And we got to adjust to the way it's being played.
Coach Almond, I appreciate you joining us. I know I've run into you the last 10 years, and I kept telling you, when we do basketball, I'm calling you. And I ran into you again recently.
I appreciate you letting me. Yeah, thank you for giving me a chance to talk. If you want to talk some more basketball, we get me and Squeaker, we get a round table. We get some arguments and then get after it.
We talk about that 8 to 10 halftime score again.
That's right.
But Kenny, don't hang up. I want everybody to go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and we've got articles on different kids around the state, from Shreveport to Houma to Lafayette to St. Tammany to Baton Rouge to New Orleans. Check out lafootballmagazine.com. We've got our 25th year football preview coming out this September. You can pre-order some copies on our website. We've got Kenny Almond. Thank you for everybody for listening, and we'll see you on Friday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.